Open your mouth. Run your tongue across your teeth. Some are crowded, one's twisted, another came in crooked, and four more, your wisdom teeth, might be stuck in the bone right now, waiting for a surgeon. We call them wisdom teeth, and there's nothing wise about teeth that don't fit. But it feels normal because it's everywhere. Since millions of us wear braces, teeth get pulled to make room, and molars get cut out before they wreck the ones beside them. Now look at a jaw from before any of this. A hunter-gatherer, whose teeth are worn flat, chipped, some even used as tools, but they sit in a wide, open jaw, barely crowded at all. Same mouth as yours, same teeth. Usually bigger teeth than ours, and theirs fit, but yours don't. So what happened? The easy answer is that evolution shrank our jaws and forgot to shrink the teeth, and that's half of it, but the other half is about you, because your jaw didn't come pre-shaped, so you built it as a kid, without knowing. And something you did almost every day decided whether your teeth would ever fit. Put two lower jaws side by side, one from a hunter-gatherer and one from a farmer, from different continents, different food, different centuries. You'd expect the difference to sit in the genes because we inherit our faces from our parents, so jaw shape should just follow the bloodline. But it doesn't. When researchers lined up jaws from all over the world, the lower jaw was carrying a second signal. And it wasn't ancestry, it was how the person lived, because foragers tended to have longer, narrower jaws while farmers tended to have shorter, wider ones, and that gap held even after they accounted for where people lived, the climate, and who they were related to. The jaw was keeping a record of what it did all day. That doesn't mean every forager had a perfect bite, since crowding isn't purely modern, and there's even a jaw from around 100,000 years ago with teeth already out of line, because bad luck happened back then too. But the pattern flipped, and crowded crooked teeth went from rare in most foraging groups to completely ordinary in farming and modern ones. Something loosened the fit between your teeth and the bone that holds them, and to see what, you need one strange fact, because your teeth and your jaw don't play by the same rules. A tooth looks like part of your skeleton, hard and full of minerals sitting in bone, but it isn't a little bone. Bone is alive, it keeps rebuilding itself, so load it and it thickens. Stop using it and it fades. And when you were a kid, the bones of your face were still growing, pulled by muscles, pushed by your tongue, worked by every bite, even shaped by the way you breathed, so your jaw wasn't a finished box waiting to be filled, it was a work in progress. Teeth are the opposite, because their size is locked in early, mostly by your genes. And once the crown of a tooth is formed, it can't quietly widen or shrink because the jaw around it changed its mind. And that's the trap, because the jaw reacts fast to a new kind of life, while the teeth show up at whatever size they were always going to be. It's like a parking garage built to one plan while the cars were built to another. So someone shaves a few inches off every space, and the cars still roll off the line full size. And each car is fine, and the garage is fine, they just don't fit each other anymore. That's what turns up as you move from foraging to farming, because the jaw changed shape and the teeth changed too over long stretches of time, but not in the same way and not on the same schedule, so in foragers, jaw size and tooth size still tracked each other pretty closely, while in farmers that link slipped, and the container and the thing inside it started drifting apart. And the first thing to blame was dinner. Take the last thing you ate and think about how much of the actual work your mouth really did because the meat was sliced before it hit your plate. The vegetables were peeled and cooked soft, the grain was ground to powder by a machine. The bread was kneaded and baked until it almost melts, and even the stuff labeled crunchy is built to snap after a set amount of pressure, so your teeth are really just finishing a job that knives, fire, and factories already started. Now, strip all of that away. No blender, no steel knife, no mill, no pot, nothing off a shelf, because even with stone tools and fire, a lot of what your ancestors ate still fought back, since tough plant fiber had to be crushed, roots had to be broken down, dried meat didn't give in easily, and half the time there was grit in it from the grinding stone, the soil, or the ash. And the mouth wasn't only for meals because people used their teeth to soften hides, hold cords, and grip things while their hands were busy. So your jaw didn't do a few polite chews at dinner, it worked with big muscles hauling on the skull and force running through the bone over and over. And a kid didn't start all that after the face was done growing, because the chewing helped build the face in the first place. And if you raise young animals on soft food, their jaws and skulls come out different from the ones raised on hard food. And that result shows up again and again. So even though we can't run that test on children, the fossils, the muscle biology, and the animal work all point the same way, that chewing isn't just something a finished jaw does, chewing is part of what finishes the jaw. Then we started taking that work away. This didn't start with factories because we've been softening our food for an incredibly long time, using stone tools to cut meat into smaller pieces, pounding to break tough plants apart, fire to cook food soft and change what was inside it, and grinding stones to turn hard seeds into flour. Every one of these was a stroke of genius, unlocking calories our teeth and guts couldn't easily reach, and maybe even helping feed that expensive human brain. But there was a price buried in the deal because every tool that did part of the chewing outside your body meant less chewing left inside it. It didn't make anyone's teeth crooked overnight, since faces and teeth had been shifting for millions of years already. And these people still chewed far more than you do, so the mismatch built up in layers as tools took a little work away. Cooking took more, grinding took more, and then farming changed not just what people ate, but how much softer it got, meal after meal after meal. Before farming, diets were all over the map because there was no single caveman menu, and some groups lived mostly on meat while others lived on fish, roots, nuts, seeds, and wild plants. But getting fed took a whole range of hard physical work. Then farming parked entire communities around a handful of tamed crops: wheat, barley, rice, millet, and maize. And part of why those crops won is that we could process them, crushing grain into flour, boiling it into mush, baking it into bread, and cooking it down until it asked far less of your teeth than most wild food ever did. Pottery made long boiling easy, and the grinding stone became a household machine. And while not all of it was soft, since early bread could be brutal and gritty, across population after population, farm food leaned on the jaw less. When researchers compared skulls worldwide, farming didn't erase who people were, since genes, ancestry, climate, and sex all still showed up. But the drift had a direction, and the parts of the skull built for chewing changed the most, so jaws got shorter in the dimensions that matter. The chewing muscles and their anchor points shifted, and the whole face started settling into a diet that asked less of it. The mouth was getting more efficient for the new world, efficient and tighter. Here's where the easy version falls apart, because it's tempting to say our teeth stayed enormous while our jaws suddenly caved in. But that's not quite it, since teeth got smaller too, and in a lot of digs, farmers have smaller teeth on average than the foragers who came before them. The problem is that jaws and teeth didn't shrink as one matched set, because the jaw bends to muscle, to childhood, and to use, while tooth size sticks to a stricter script. So even when both get smaller, they can end up out of sync. And it doesn't take much, because if you lose a few millimeters across the row, it counts, since teeth are packed shoulder to shoulder and there's no spare closet in your mouth, so when the room runs out, teeth don't shrink to be polite, they twist, they lean, they overlap, they come in sideways, or they never make it out of the bone at all. And the last ones to show up walk into the worst spot in the house. Most of your adult teeth arrive when you're a kid, but wisdom teeth show up late, in the late teens or early 20s, and by then every seat is taken because the front teeth are in, the canines are in, the premolars and the first two rounds of molars are all parked, and then the third molar starts pushing toward the surface. It's the guy walking into a packed theater after the lights go down, tilting forward, shoving the molar in front of it, coming halfway through the gum, or just staying buried, and that's impaction, and third molars get hit hardest because they arrive last and need room at the very back, exactly where a modern jaw has none to spare. So why do you still grow them at all? Because for your ancestors, one more grinding surface was worth having. Since teeth back then took a beating, they cracked, they got infected, they fell out, and a fresh molar showing up in adulthood could keep the mouth working for years longer, so in a roomy jaw it was a spare tool, and in a crowded one it's day surgery. The tooth didn't turn defective, its neighborhood changed. There's one more piece to the mismatch, because ancient teeth didn't keep their shape for long since coarse, gritty food ground the biting surfaces flat, but they also wore down where one tooth rubbed against the next because every time the jaw moved, Teeth pressed on their neighbors and a little got sanded off the sides, and over decades that slowly shrank how much space the whole row took up. So some researchers think that extra room is part of what let the back teeth fit. Your diet barely does that anymore, so your teeth reach adulthood almost full size, sides and all, which means maybe the jaw didn't just get smaller, maybe the teeth also stopped giving back the width they used to lose over a lifetime. It's a clean idea, but it can't carry the whole thing because kids get crowded teeth years before a lifetime of wear could matter. And the digs say the change in jaw shape and lost chewing pull their own weight, separate from wear, so wear probably handed over some spare room. But the real trouble started earlier, while the face was still growing, with the jaw and the teeth no longer moving in step. And then came the biggest drop in chewing humans had ever pulled off. Farming changed the menu, and machines changed the texture because steel rollers ground flour finer than a stone ever could. Factories stripped the hard outer layers off grain, and food came out softer, cleaner, more even, and easier to swallow, while sugar showed up everywhere. Meat got minced, cans arrived pre-cooked, and baby food you could down without a single real chew, and then came the stuff engineered to dissolve, crunch for half a second, and slide away. We stopped asking whether food could be eaten and started asking how little effort it could take, and this happened way too fast for new genes to spread through the crowd. Because people even wrote about crowding creeping up in a population within a few generations of going industrial, and they hadn't turned into a new species, their childhood had. That's why two kids with almost the same genes can grow two different jaws, because genes draw the outer lines while growth fills them in, pushed by chewing, breathing, the tongue, habits, illness, and whatever the body ran into on the way up, so there's no single switch labeled crooked teeth. And your jaw is the sum of a lot of forces pulling at once. But softer food quietly killed one of the biggest daily signals your growing face was listening for. We outsourced chewing, and the face noticed. Now, don't go blaming every crooked tooth on soft bread because that's too easy and it's wrong, since plenty of people eat modern food and still grow wide, roomy jaws while others get packed, twisted ones, and brothers and sisters raised on the same dinners end up with different bites because tooth size runs in families. And so does jaw shape. And so does the way your top and bottom jaws line up, and some people are born short a tooth while some grow extras. So genes set the starting design hard. But genes don't build a face alone, they hand instructions to a living thing that's also reacting to force, food, breathing, hormones, and injuries. And if you think about height for a second, genes matter a ton. But a kid's food and health decide whether they ever hit the number those genes were aiming for, and your jaw works the same way. It was never genes versus environment, it's genes trying to express themselves inside a world they never saw coming. So your mouth isn't a Stone Age jaw with modern teeth bolted in, it's an ancient growth system that grew up somewhere it had never been. One thing worth being straight about, because not every tooth that sits a little off is an emergency, since bodies vary and perfect symmetry was never the default, so some bad bites cause almost no trouble while others get in the way of cleaning, chewing, speech, or how the teeth meet, and a stuck tooth can sometimes damage the one beside it or get infected. So here's the part I'll just say plainly. Don't decide what your mouth needs from an evolution story or a video, because a dentist looks at your actual face, not an average ancient skull. Still, look at how big orthodontics got, because we built a whole branch of medicine mostly to walk teeth into jaws that won't line them up on their own, where brackets pull, wires push, expanders make room, surgeons move bone, and teeth come out when the jaw just can't hold them. So we got incredibly good at fixing the final shape. But that shape was set years earlier, back when the face was still growing. And here's the strangest part of all of it, because our food tech didn't fail. It won. Completely. Since we made calories easy to reach, kids stopped needing a powerful jaw just to survive dinner, a cracked or missing tooth stopped being a death sentence. Older people could eat food they'd once have struggled with, cooking killed off pathogens, grinding freed up energy, and soft food helped build bigger settlements, then cities, then everything after. Your jaw didn't get more fragile because we screwed up. It changed because our inventions worked, and the catch is that culture moves faster than a body can, because a mill gets reinvented in a century and a food industry flips in a couple of decades, but a kid's face is still growing on instructions written for a much older world. So the machines changed first, the menu changed next, and your mouth had to improvise. So, why don't your teeth fit your mouth? There's no single villain because faces and teeth had been shifting for millions of years already. Cooking and tools took work off the chewing system, farming and settling down bent the jaw further, food got easier to grind, boil, and swallow, and then factories pulled out almost all the resistance that was left. Meanwhile, teeth and jaws were following their own separate rule books, so the jaw moved fast while the teeth didn't keep pace. Less wear quietly removed a little more spare room, genes decided who'd feel it worst, and breathing, muscles, habits, and plain bad luck filled in the rest. The result wasn't that everybody ended up crooked, it's that not fitting became normal. Normal enough that we stopped noticing it was strange. Open your mouth one more time because every tooth in there is an ancient tool. Incisors to cut, canines to grip, molars to crush, a set handed down from people who couldn't run their food through a factory before eating it. But the space around those tools was never fixed. It grew while you were a kid, answering to muscle, to pressure, to habit, and to a world where food kept getting easier to eat, and for millions of years, humans shaped their bodies around their food. And then, in a sliver of that time, we flipped it and shaped the food around our bodies, cutting it before the incisors could, crushing it before the molars could, and softening it before the jaw ever had to work, so your mouth grew up around that deal. You didn't sprout too many teeth. You grew up in a world that asked too little of the bone built to hold them, so your wisdom teeth aren't confused and your canines aren't growing in the wrong animal. You're carrying the gear of an older kind of life, inside a face shaped by an easier one. We made eating the easiest it has ever been, and somewhere in that trade, we made it harder for our own teeth to find a home.